want to start with the numbers. We are coming off our biggest issue paid month ever. Now, again, I know we talked about that last week as well, but I really think we need to have some perspective. Now, what's great about us is we're coming off that month and we're looking to do more. So Wayne, a lot of people, they start doing well and they're like, this is awesome. And we start doing well, Gaylin, and go, we need to get better. What can we do differently? How can we get better? What can we put in? There's things we're changing. We're at it. There's things we're adding with the company. The next 30 days, from a carrier standpoint, from a logistical standpoint, from an IT standpoint, you just continue to see how much we're growing. We're excited about that. I'm going to start right away with the issue paid leaderboard for week 5 of August. So there were 17 people over 7,500 issue paid for the week. Greg R, 7854, Keith C, 7964, Amy M, 8518, Quinn H, 8581, Bryson W, 9810, Anthony C, 10,486, Dawn S, 11,231, Zach L, 11,242, John P, 11,795, Josh L, 13,629, Alvern V, 16,656, Brig G, 18,696, Matt W, 20,848, Spencer F, 26,500, Jack Y, 31,655, Judy A, 51,681, Brittany S, 53,928. Top 5 life producers this week. Bryson W, 9810, Jack Y, 10,482, Zach L, 11,242, John P, 11,795, Joshua L, 13,629. And I give you an idea. We have 20 people that have issued over $225,000 year to date. So Wayne, we're starting September. We have 20 people that have issued over $225,000. So yeah, I'll just give you the top 5. Conrad P, 331,766. Millie P, 337,370. Spencer F, 383,439. Matt W, 417,945. And Amy M has issued $488,697 in its September. Yeah, it's issued $500,000 and we just got in September. So you can see the submitted numbers. We got to get into training. Submitted numbers scrolling through, and you'll keep seeing those through our feed here on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. So a couple things that I want to make sure I get to before I hand over to Wayne and ask him some questions. And Wayne and Gaylin are unbelievable producers. Not only are they unbelievable producers, unbelievable trainers. You know, we talk a lot with people about, if you're good at something, can you know, there's a lot of guys that were girls that are really good athletes that can't coach. Because whatever they did, they don't even know how they did it. And maybe they were really so gifted that it didn't matter. You know, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he's like, this guy was going, you need to do all these things to be in the major leagues. You need to do this, you need to do this. He looked at the guy, he goes, yeah, and you also have to be born a freak. And he's like, yeah, I guess that's a good point. It's like, all those other things you're saying are great, but you had to be born a freak, and then you can go ahead and be major. So at the end of the day, some people just, I think, I had to work really hard to get really good at selling life insurance. Get really hard at getting really good at writing the right business and being very profitable. I had to work really hard at that. And I think because I had to work hard, I respected the heck out of it. It allowed me to go ahead and pass on to people what not to do. So I'm going to start with you, Wayne. What did you issue pay last year?
Last year was $417,000.
So $417,000. How long you been selling life insurance for?
It'll be 3 years and 3 years this month, later this month.
3 years later this month. These calls we get, Wayne, probably the thing that makes me smile, one of the things that makes me smile the most regarding what we do is how much feedback we got about the next level call. And what the constant theme is, we appreciate that you have people that are actually doing this and actually know how to do this. Because somebody said to me the other day, he was talking about everything. He's like, I looked at all these other companies and I said, well, why are you deciding to work with us? Because you made a decision to work with us. He said, mentorship. He said, everything else is what it is. He said, leads, comp. Yes, you guys seem to be superior in about everything else, in my opinion. He said, but even if not, I need mentorship. I need to learn how to go out there and sell $30,000 a month. And he said, in every other company, nobody can teach me that. They're all talking about me getting some leads and making a few sales, but nobody can teach me to go out and make $300,000, $400,000 by myself. Nobody. And I hate to say it, but I would agree with that. I think that there's a lot of times where people just, I think they want you to do good. They just don't know how to train that. So, Wayne, I'd love for you to start with $400,000 last year. What was the year before that? What did you issue pay?
Just over $250,000.
Just over. That was your first year in business.
Yeah, first full year.
When you started with us, why don't you break us? When you started, what did it look like? Leads, What did appointments look like? What was your time in the field? What were things you did? Some of the things you learned, and then what did you do differently to go from 2 to over 4?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I asked a really good question.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just playing with you.
It's a great
Good.
question. When I started, I was probably running 10, 15 appointments a week, not really protecting my downtime, and I remember it like it was yesterday. My first month I did $4,000, second 7, and then my third month 11, and then I had a conversation with Mark. He basically told me that I wasn't good enough to do the things that I was trying to do, as far as dialing when I felt like it, not jumping up and getting on the phone and protect my downtime, and not really running appointments, putting things in my favor. So going from transitioning into that in my first full year doing 250 and then making the transition to 4, it was really about getting up and attacking the phones, just getting on the phone early and not putting it off until I felt like it. And then when it came to appointments, it was just being rabid about making sure that I had a solid 25 appointments a week, just putting the numbers in my favor and not really wavering from that and staying on the phone until I did that. And if that meant dialing until 9 o'clock at night, that meant dialing until 9 o'clock at night, because I didn't really come here to be mediocre, if that makes sense.
So when you said early on you didn't protect your dial time, give me an example of what a dial day looked like week 1. That month, because I think it's important. That month you did $4,000. What did your dial? What was your dial days then? By the way, what were they? Did you have a?
I dialed with everybody else. It was Monday, Thursday, but
Okay.
Monday we have. I don't know if we had the Monday. We did just start the Monday morning wake up call. So I used the Monday morning wake up call as an excuse not to get on the phone early. So it was getting ready to dial.
That'll screw you up. It was at 11 Eastern. I mean, you had to be prepared.
Yeah.
You couldn't start before that.
I know, right? It's crazy. But before 11 o'clock, nothing.
Yeah,
happens.
correct.
So it was getting ready to dial before the 11 o'clock call.
Did you not like to dial, or is it just?
Oh no, I don't think anybody really likes to dial.
Did you hate? No, I'm curious. Did you hate it? Was it more just the activity itself? Was it specifically like I just don't like dialing, or was it just the work? I want to put the work off because I didn't. It's funny. People, I like dialing. I mean, I'm saying like there's certain things I did not like, but I did not like because I dialed. I guess for me, my background was in real estate. We called all the time, and we had no leads.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, like every Saturday, I sat in my PM Remax office and dialed the phone all day long, and I called people that never asked for anything, all day, all day. And then when I was a social worker, you want to talk about? I hate this. This is sad, but it's true. One of my jobs, I worked after hours. One of my jobs was to find foster homes for children. Okay, so the state of Connecticut had a list of God knows how many foster homes. And you understand, like, a lot of the foster homes really wanted to have a little kid. They buy a 6-month-old kid. They were like, sounds great. When does he or she come over? But a 16-year-old, you can imagine, are like, no, don't have any openings. And guess who's disruptive on weekends at night? Not usually 6-month-olds. Stuff goes down with teenagers. So Gaylin, I was selling, man. Like, we don't know if we have any room. What's his deal? He's a great kid, because all kids are great kids. He's a great kid, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, what's he getting? What is he getting kicked out for? Probably some bad behavior by the people in charge, I don't know, not him. He's a great kid, like, is he aggressive? Of course not. No, he didn't seem aggressive to me. I talked to him on the phone for 30 seconds. He seemed fine. I'm going to pick him up and bring him to your house. So I was so used to being on the phone all day long. Right. I'd be on the phone for 3 hours trying to find a foster home, wherever it was in the state of Connecticut. So for me, when I saw the leads, I salivated. I mean, I'll be straight up with you. Because I remember when I was talking to Dominique when he started, he's like, you love this? I was like, yeah, this is I'm sorry, but yeah. Like, I didn't mind running the appointments either. I liked it, but like, I loved dialing. So I'm just saying, so it's an important question. A lot of people don't. So it's an important question to ask. Like, some people love the in-home. You probably love the in-home more than I did. Maybe I love the, dialing. So you were procrastinating because you didn't love the activity.
Right.
At the beginning, when you got 10 or 15 people, if you got 10 on the phone, when you started that month, got them on the phone, you got that, how many of those would you book then?
Probably like 3 or 4.
Okay, but think about this. He didn't like to do it. He admits he wasn't working hard. Your mindset wasn't right. Heck, you're waiting for anything to get in the way. We had a 30-minute call with screwing up your entire Monday.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But he still found a way to book 3 to 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I think with our business. Like, you can almost not want to do it, not be excited, get started, not have made any money yet, and still 30-40% of the time you're successful in what you're doing. Now when you dial, I'm going to go too fast, but now when you dial, if you get 10 on the phone, how many do you book typically?
A solid 7.
Okay. Which I think is good, by the way. If I do 10, I'm like, that's because 2 or 3 of them aren't going to be there.
Right.
I don't think you're supposed to get, I don't think 100% of people are going to book and meet with you and they're going to buy it. I don't think that that's the case. Let's start with the phones. Obviously, you're protecting your dial time. Obviously, you're working harder. There's no dispute there. What are some of the things, though, Wayne, that you're doing differently on the phone than you were doing back in the day, where you almost doubled your production, where you were 3 out of 4 before to 7 now? What are some things that you could talk about you think would help everybody that's watching and listening in today?
I think eliminating the dead space and really always having something to say, because they're waiting on you to say something. So it eliminating objections. When they have an objections, not being caught off guard and having that awkward pause where there's silence, because at that point they feel like they've taken control. They might hang up if you don't say anything, so you have to say something. So having a go-to transition, like perfect, that's the reason for my call, or that's exactly why I called, or just something that you can fall on immediately, because those few seconds completely changes everything. And if it's mindless, you're not really thinking about it, so you can really prepare yourself for what to say next based on whatever, for lack of a better way to put it, stupid objection that they gave you because they filled out a form or they submitted a request in some capacity. So there's really no reason for them to answer the phone and not book an appointment.
Well, I mean, and I know you say there's no nice way to say it, but it is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
To fill something out, ask for somebody to call you, and then when they call you to try to find a way not to get the information that you already requested.
Right.
That's a little bit ludicrous. There's some lunacy involved there, and I laugh about it, but I think what he said, and it's simple, but it seems so simple, I shouldn't say it's simple. It seems so simple as not having that dead space, because we're so used to communicating where I ask you a question and wait. But if I'm calling somebody that's asked me for help already, I don't sit on the phone and wait for you to talk, because like you said, they take control. Well, they have to. You didn't.
Right.
They're literally, you understand, human behavior is very predictable. And most of us want to be led. We want to be told what to do. And I don't mean, that's not a derogatory way. We want to be told what to do. If we go to the doctor's office, we want the doctor to tell us what to do. If it's school, we have our kid, we want the teacher to tell. We want people to tell us that know more about things than us to tell us what to do. So here we are, form filled out. We're the professional.
Right. And
all of a sudden we acquiesce and go, so anyway, why did you fill this whole thing out? Some crazy open-ended question. And then that's suicide on the phone.
Yeah. Because
that's when they realize Wayne doesn't have any control. I'm going to take control. I can't allow Wayne to be sitting there. So your typical phone call, how long does that last, Wayne?
I would say probably 45 seconds somewhere between 45 seconds to a minute and a half. It depends on what type of call it is. The final expense phone script is a lot shorter than the mortgage protection script.
My deal was, if it was over a minute, I felt like the phone was going to blow up.
Yeah.
I'm just not that good. I know I'm bound to say something that's going to, be off-putting maybe. And I mean just about the appointment or if I'm on the phone longer than a minute. I taught a lot of the people we start, because a lot of what they do is, you also have to get rid of the preconceived notion you have. Like if you go, well, I've always done it this way, my old job. Okay, let me break it down for you. You left your old job because you weren't making any money. You came to a new job. Let's leave all the old habits of the old job, because the old job wasn't working,
Right.
And now you're at a new job. Like, you're selling life insurance for you. You're self-employed. You're independent contractor, but you're working for you. And now you're doing that. So let's go ahead and let's proceed the way we're doing it. And why don't you just try that for 90 days? If it doesn't work, and you can go, hey, you're wrong. Even though we're issuing $150 million, you can still blame us and say it doesn't work for you because in your county, in your state, on Saturdays, it doesn't work for you. Whatever you want to decide doesn't matter. But let's leave those things alone, because at the end of the day, we're in a place where you're working in the middle American market that isn't looking to be BS or sold.
Right.
They're not. So when you call somebody and you're pretty direct, that's really what they're looking for. As a matter of fact, if you went to their job where you did the thing, they'd be direct with you as well for the most part. I think it's a different population. They're not looking for cute and funny and sales presentations. They just want you to go ahead and be honest with them and be direct. So the phone, were you getting a bunch of leads when you started?
Probably a solid 30.
Was this the first time you'd ever bought leads?
Yeah.
Okay, never in any industry.
Yeah, never
Okay.
bought leads before.
Did you have any issue with that? Like, man, I got to buy myself leads, and from a monetary standpoint.
I mean, it's definitely uncomfortable, especially, I guess, starting out when I wasn't going to work. I guess is the easiest way to say it, because when you don't go to work, you don't really know that it's going to come back, and it's going to multiply. But once you go to work and realize that it's going to come back, and you have to put money in. I equate it to gas. I use the gas analogy a lot. You wouldn't not put gas in your car and be confused about why it didn't start in the morning. So your business is really the same thing. So if you put leads in, the money's going to come out, and you go.
You know, it's funny. The guy that hired me, Jim, goes, it's a little uncomfortable buying leads. I go, Jim, I work in the state of Connecticut. I work 100 hours a week, make 80 grand. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'll buy myself some leads. I'm tired. Believe me, I'm insanely uncomfortable in a bad way. Like, I'm scared about what I'm going to do for my family and how I'm going to be able to pay my bills. So let me go figure this thing out. As far as the in-home, first 2, 3, 4 months, if you met with 10 people, how many of those would you close?
Probably 2 or
Probably
3.
2. And what about now?
Probably like closer to 6.
Okay. Take us through, for a few minutes, if you don't mind, things you're doing in the in-home mortgage, final expense, whatever it is, things that you've kind of learned. So I used to do this, I don't do that anymore. Man, this has really helped me immensely over here. It's helped me with just getting the closing and the quality and everything else I do with my clients. What are some tips that you have for people on both sides of mortgage and final expense?
I really, again, focus on eliminating objections from the beginning. Let them know why I'm there, set the table. Tell them what I do, and as I'm going through the in-home, a lot of times before I was really just going through the process, really just going through the motions, trying to get from the time I walk in the door to the time I show numbers, not really checking for understanding along the way, making sure that they were tracking with me, and making sure that they were even engaged. I wasn't reading their body language. I wasn't talking to the decision maker, and sometimes I was even in the house with one of the parties, not making sure that they were both there, which goes back to phone scripts. So now I do a lot of things to eliminate objections, like tell them that the mortgage company already combed through their finances with a fine-tooth comb. So my job is really just to figure out what you're comfortable with, because they already decided that you have a budget for this, so I wouldn't even be here. And then eliminating the we need to think about an objection by just telling them that I work for them. My job is to figure out which one of these 13 companies that I work with is the best fit based on your specific situation and point you in the right direction. We can't make a decision today. At that point, we submit the information over to them so that they can do the formal underwriting for your MIB and prescription history and decide whether or not they want to extend an offer. So a lot of things along those lines to just eliminate the objections, so that when we get to the end, it's really just a matter of picking an option, if even there is any options. I also do top-down selling and make recommendations, as opposed to being that guy that comes out and give quotes, because confused people do nothing. And if you give them too much to think about, then they're going to think about it. And they didn't call you because they needed help thinking about it. They called you to help them make a decision. So
I like that. They didn't call you because they need help thinking about it. I mean, I think that, when you say the decision maker, so let's say they're both there.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is obviously we just alluded to, like, don't go out and run the appointment if they're not both there. But people are so funny. Everybody starts and you go, hey, don't do this. And they're new. And they go, okay. And then, the husband goes, hey, my wife won't be here. Go, okay, I'll come by anyway, because you're so smart. Like, I go, dude, it doesn't work. Don't do it. Right. Please don't do it. You're like, no, I won't do it. Anyway, how did the appointment go again? Well, I didn't call. Why? Well, the wife wasn't there. Did you know that? Yeah, I did. I just really got to give it a shot. When you're in the home, so if it's a husband and wife, okay? So if it's, how are you determining for you? What questions are you asking? How are you observing to figure out who the decision maker is and then how to proceed with that person while still including the other person?
Well, I mean, it goes down to body language. It comes down to body language, and really they'll tell on themselves a lot of times. They'll do a lot of deferring, or one person will dominate the conversation. So when you're asking, it starts from the beginning. When you're asking for the driver's license, I ask for that up front. Or when you're asking about income, one of the persons is going to answer. one other person is going to have a more thorough answer. And sometimes even they're going to defer to the other person. So like they'll defer to the husband to actually answer, or the wife to actually answer and fill in the blanks of this specific amounts. And when you ask questions about the mortgage, how much equity's there, if they're both on the mortgage, what would happen? Even though you ask the husband or wife specifically, the other person that's typically going to make the decision is going to jump in and try to answer most of the questions. So, I mean, you can, if you pay attention to them, they're going to tell you who you really need to be talking to. And then you still just want to ask the other person the questions that you know for a fact that they can answer, and make sure that the person that's making the decision is giving you the answers that you need to make an informed or a good recommendation that makes sense for them.
Well, here's the thing. If you talk too much and you don't listen, you never find that out.
Yep.
So that's the thing. I think for me early on, I talked so much that I asked a question, they answered it, and I just didn't wait. Like maybe the other one to jump in, I'm on to the next thing. If you just, as you said, just kind of shut your mouth and listen. You know, they'll tell you everything you want to know if you'll just stop talking, you know. Wayne, how many agents you have writing business on your team?
I had 16 agents issue pay business last month.
Nice. What's your goal monthly for your agency by December?
VP November for my birthday, and then
That'll be a good birthday present.
Yeah, great birthday present. And then push over 200K by the end of the year, just because, I mean, they deserve it and their families deserve it.
No doubt about it. Well, I appreciate you, and thanks for helping us out today.
No,
You've been great. I got no doubt you'll get the VP and well beyond. So, Gaylin.
Yeah.
Gaylin, you remember the first time I heard you train?
Not really.
Okay. It was in Atlanta, which makes sense because you're always training in Atlanta. Do you remember what I said to you? Let me tell you what I said, Wayne. He's trying to figure it out.
You're a good trainer, but you need to sell some insurance.
It's not what I said. I said, you are one of the best sales trainers I've ever heard. Damn, are you underachieving? Yeah, because damn, think about what, I mean, you're so good. It's like, Wayne, like you're so good. Think about what you could be doing if you're putting some more time in, you were more focused on things that would make, you know, and you know what's great? He's like, got it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm already doing this. Like, I'm just giving you an observation. You're really good. So, Gaylin, I'm going to let you take about the next 20 minutes and talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about from a sales standpoint. Because if you know Gaylin, when it comes to training, he likes to talk. You do not need to prompt him. You don't need to ask him a bunch of questions. He will roll. So it's all yours, buddy.
Well, first of all, Sean, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for doing what you're doing for us. You're a very exceptional person in my eyes.
Right back at you.
Really appreciate just being a part of such a great thing right now. It makes me feel excited because I don't have to worry about going nowhere else. So it is what it is. So I really appreciate you. But, you know, for starters, that was one of the things. I have a little book that I wrote that statement in the very first day you said it, because one of the things that we don't get from people in general is honesty. Most people sugarcoat everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 90% of the time you go through life and, you know, you ask somebody, how's your day? It's all right. But you really don't want to know what a person's day is really like. So that was one of the things that stood out to me about you when I first met you. I was like, dang, he's brutally honest. He tells you exactly what's on his mind. And if it's on his mind, it's coming out of his mouth. Wow. That's all I said that day. But I remember that. But it was enough for me to hear that and say, I need to do something different. And I need to do something different fast. Coming into this business, I had a boatload of trust issues. I just didn't trust anybody. I've been burned by several different business owners, business partners, and I just didn't want to trust nobody. It was hard. But I realized the more I listened to Sean, the more I listened to Mike Kilman, the more I listened to some of the other VPs at that time, watching them perform around one another, watching them communicate with each other, I started saying to myself, okay, so you're going to do one of the two. You're going to live a life of not trusting and end up getting left behind, which means next year is going to look the same way the year before looked. And that's what made me start looking and say, you know what, I need to alter this about myself. I need to just give a fair chance to what I'm dealing with. I walked into this. Nobody called me and said, you know what, we want to hire you. That's not how it happened. I saw something that Mike Kilman posted. I contacted Mike, walked into the situation. He told me, meet me at my office. Showed up at his office. I took the opportunity. He didn't say, Gaylin, you gotta do this. You better do this. That never happened like that. And so after I thought about that, that's how I got here. So why wouldn't I start trusting? It just made more sense to trust. So that's what it did for me. It opened my eyes, and the more I looked, Dominique, John Whitmore, Mike Kilman, Drew, Mark Mead, I could just go on and on for people who I looked at all the time. It's like, so they acting like that. And, and then I looked at the weirdest thing. Most people never probably even really paid attention. When you look at the person that's closest to the one that runs the company, and they're all in with that individual, and he never knew I watched him. He probably will never know it until today when I say it. I watch Sizer a lot. Because if it was ever going to be anything different, it was going to come from the person I was closest to. If there was ever going to be anything that looked awkward or off, it's going to be the closest person to me. That's what made me just open up and say, you know what, I got to trust this. I got to trust this guy. I got to trust the process. I got to trust the people in the process. And that's what changed it for me. But looking at where we are today, some of the things that I would say that you need to do to make your business successful. My 3 top things is from your mentor. Mentor, mine is Mike, Sean, almost anybody. I got a phone number, a number in my phone for to call to ask questions. Ask questions and then listen to what they tell you, whether you like it or not. Because again, remember I said Sean was brutally honest. That's who he is. I can't change him. Every time I see him, he gives me something that I need to change, something that I need to do better. And so listen. And then once you listen, you have to take what was given to you and put a plan together, and then put the play in action. Don't wait for it, do it. That's just for me personal. And then, the last thing is, if you're gonna do it, then lead by example. If you're not gonna lead by example, don't do any of it. It's a waste of time. So you can't have someone of influence tell you something to do and then you do it your way. It's not gonna work. You wasted everybody's time. So don't get in the habit of wasting people's time. If you're gonna do this, do it, ask a question, listen, put the plan together, and then lead by example. Because they're never gonna tell you anything to do that they've not already done. So that's the other thing that's exciting. I realized I went into business by myself. Every business that Michelle and I have ever had, we were always in business by ourselves. We had to figure it out. We had no choice. And being the head of my house, which that's what I'm charged to be, the head of my home, I had to figure it out whether it was the best information that came from someone, whether I got it from Google, whether I read it in a book. I had to figure it out and make it happen. Here, it was totally different coming in this door. It was like I was given a playbook. My favorite team is my home team, Atlanta Falcons. It is what it is. Die hard, ride or die. I'm never going to change it. Win, lose, or draw, okay? It was like I was given a playbook, and I hate to even call this name, to finally get to the 4th quarter and beat the New England Patriots. That's what I feel like. That's how I feel. I have a playbook to win any game I need to win. And whatever play, sometimes you can make a copy of a page and it doesn't come out clear. And in making that copy of the page and it not coming out clear, what that actually means for you is that's when your mentor comes into play. They can call you and tell you what was missing off the sheet of paper. Sounds stupid to some people, but it works for me. looking at where we are right now as a group, I kind of sat back. I thought making this trip because I said it was to be the first time in my wife and I known each other for 27 years, married for 25 in November. Be the first time in all those years I've not been around that woman for my birthday. It's like, dang, I got to go somewhere else and not be home with my family for my birthday. Gaylin, what did that mean to you? It was sticker shock at first. But then I started thinking, it's for the greater good. Next 2 years, I won't do this. May not have to do it. I may be on an island somewhere, Skype, because I'll be rich enough to be there. And after I said that to my wife, she was like, yeah, babe, go ahead. I've already booked your flight. I got your hotel booked, because when I looked at the hotels, it was like a couple, maybe like $300-400 a night. I was like, I'm not staying there. She's like, I got it. I'll figure it out. I said to myself, wow, she's sending me away from my birthday. Then I got to thinking, yeah, there'll be some time for myself. You know, you got to coach yourself along. But what we end up discussing that night when we said, yeah, we'll make this trip, I'll make this trip to come here, I started thinking about the value of the people that I would be around, whether it was for a day, an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. There are people who pay life coaches $4,000-5,000 just to spend maybe a day, a week. Some of them go for 2 days for $6,000. You know what it cost me to come here? My flight, I think the flight was maybe $400. The hotel was maybe, we're gonna call it altogether maybe $700. But it didn't cost me $6,500. And yet to sit in the room with the best coach in the world. You know why I say it's the best coach in the world? If you can find another company that has achieved the things that have been achieved at Family First Life, guess what? I might go, no, I was just joking, I'm not going with you. I'll just still convince you to come over here, because we're gonna get bigger and we're gonna get better, because that's what we're doing, that's why I'm here. Some things that I would say that has helped us improve as an agency, again, goes back to those top three. Ask questions, listen, and put the plan into play. Lead by example. But then talk with your agents every day, whether you want to or not. You have to do it. Whether you feel like it or not, you got to answer your phone. Your phone is your business. Your phone is your lifeline. Your phone is everything. Answer it. And then the other thing is meet people where they are. You can't take a person who's just come from corporate America, making $3,000 to $4,000 a month, living in the rat race of the promises of the next raise or the next big promotion, and expect for them to become a $20,000 producer the very next day. Some do it, some don't. So I had to get in my mind that I had to start meeting people where they were. I could no longer accept or expect for them to be me. It was just not going to work. And when I changed that, things started to change. I started looking at some other things and trying to figure out how can I change the way that our business was structured. We were having issues. You know, as you know, it's not a mystery. Mortgage leads were slow. Got to figure out something new. I need to do something new to make my business thrive. So I said, you know what? One thing the world is going to never run out of, and I don't want to offend anybody. One thing the world is never going to run out of is older people, senior citizens. It will never run out of them. You know why? Because I just turned a new age. And 20 years from now, I'll be 65 years old. So 20 years from now, somebody will be calling me and I have to tell them, nah, I don't need life insurance. I took care of that 20 years ago. Boy, don't you know how good that sounds? I'm just saying, let me get back on task here. But anyway, we started doing final expense. Mail.
Hey, Gaylin, I have to say this because I want to make sure we're on the same page. Like, when I started, we only had final expense.
Yes.
Okay, so like, I got my license, Wayne. Guy gave me, he was slick, right? He gave me a mortgage lead, and I called it. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting my license. So he handed me one, and I called it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then I was like, we're getting started. Where do I get those leads? He's like, they're coming in, and they come in like as a card. And I'm like, there's no mortgage amount on these. There's no, like, what do I do with these? He's like, call them up. And I'm like, where's the one you gave me? He goes, oh, we don't have many of those. This is 2008. I said, all right. I said, what do I say to these? I said, who are, because I really did, Wayne, I had no idea. He goes, they're called final expenses. I say, explain to me. He goes, they're people usually about the age of 50 that have no life insurance or have a little bit of life insurance. They want more. I'm like, this is probably easier than that. Got it. He's like, you want a phone strip? I'm like, no, you know nothing. So I just call him up. Sean, Senior Benefit Center, fill this form out. Probably going to see if some life insurance. You don't have enough. And I was writing $20,000 a month. They should pay final expense. Boom, 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 boom. A, they're older. B, they're going to die sooner. They know it. I'm 45. If you 20, odds are you're going to outlive me. I'm not delusional about that. Okay? So, and it was the same price for the rest of their lives. I was like, this is ridiculously easy. So we had a mortgage, sure, don't get me wrong, but I also realized, and you're right, Gaylin, to your point, with, everybody here, everybody's a baby boomer expert now. Here's all I know. There's a lot of people. Healthcare's gotten a lot better. Yes. People live longer. Yes. It's just a different world, man. And you start looking at the population, and it's funny because I think a lot of the people, a lot of us, maybe even how we grew up, we're like, I'm not living to 80, 85, 90. I'm like, I'm actually, who knows? But I'm like, I actually think I could live a while. And that sounds weird to say it that way, but give it a good run, Wayne. I mean, it's still moving. I'm 45, Give it a run, drive this thing till the wheels fall off. But I think it's important because a lot of people, they get stuck. They start one thing, they go, I love it. And then they just can't see anything else. And it's like, mortgage leads are great. We have them all over the place, believe me. And now we're doing a lot of, but there's with the final expense end from Facebook, direct mail, call-ins. I mean, we literally can't outgrow those. Wayne, do you understand how powerful a statement that is? See, I mean, when you start talking that way, like, we can't outgrow those. And I remember people like, is it hard? I'm like, what would be their objection? Like, hey, you fill this out because you either don't have any, you don't have enough, or you want to leave something extra for everybody to care about, right? Mm-hmm. Yep, it was that one. Okay, got it. So here's the way it works. And everybody's eligible is guarantee issue. Mm-hmm. As long as you're residing in a home, not a nursing home, I will cover you. What was the problem? So the idea is a diversification of lead flow is crucial. So I just had to say that again because it's so funny. And in hindsight, I'm like, God, and we just started crushing them. Mm-hmm. And you can print final expense leads. Yes. Print them. So go ahead, but I'm sorry. You got me excited. You get excited when you talk, man. I really do.
So the thing is I started looking at that. I listened to agents complain, oh my God, I can't travel, so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, cool. Do final expense, you can get them anywhere. You want them in your backyard, you can get them in your backyard. Mail, Facebook, telemarketing, in that order. So I've been able to get leads. If I decided I wanted to go to New Orleans, whether it was because we was doing a boot camp, or I just wanted to go to New Orleans, go down Burger Street, okay? It is what it is, I love to eat. It was so easy for me to get on the phone, put in an order for telemarketing leads, go right to New Orleans, and make $8,000, $9,000. And I was on a mini vacay, but at the end of the day, I still make money while I was gone. I didn't have zero on the board, okay? So now the only other thing that I would ask you, knowing that, okay, number one, you didn't just hear me say it, but you heard the CEO, president of Family First Life. We will never run out of leads. Absolutely never, not at Family First Life. That's not a joke. That's the truth. I haven't ran out of them. In fact, I got an order today since I've been sitting here. I placed an order for 100 telemarketing leads, and I got them already. Okay,
crazy.
So I am ready to go back to Georgia right now because I got to work. All right, but here's the deal. My question to you is, again, it's something I always ask. I started asking myself this first. What do you believe in? See, a lot of people don't know what they believe in because they never sat down and really asked themselves the question. My grandmama told me one day, she said, baby, it's okay to talk to yourself as long as you're not answering. Well, this time I got to be a little crazy. I wanted to answer myself. I said, Gaylin, what do you believe in? You really believe in Family First Life? I paused just like I just did just then. And then I said, you know what? Yeah, it's a proven system. It works. I've seen it work for other people. Nobody had to tell me about it. It wasn't an infomercial that comes on at 2:30 in the morning that tells you about how great the program is. Spend $29.95 starting out today with free shipping, and then 60 days later, we're going to bill you $19.95 more per month for the next 2 years. It wasn't a gimmick like that. Everything that I got into, I dived into this head first, was because I saw the system working at first. So the other thing that I ask myself is, do you trust the people you work with? And if so, why? You know why? Number one is because they've not told me anything that has not come back to be extremely true. Gaylin, you need to start seeing more clients. When I saw more clients, I made more money. Gaylin, you got to buy more leads. I see more clients, I made more money. Gaylin, you got to make sure your agents got leads. Make sure the agents got leads. Agents made more money. They taking care of their families. Everything that's been said to me has been true. Now, some of the things that I actually meant by taking a look at this to help you make money for your family, they've done that. To be first generation millionaire in my family, I'm going to be it because I've already written it down. I believe it is going to happen. So the only other thing I would tell you is understand one thing. If you were thinking about leaving because somebody made you mad, imagine if you was a school teacher, and this is my last thing I got to tell you, and you had a classroom full of students, and there was 30 students in that class, and you got mad with the principal that day. Do you go back in the classroom and punish the students by not teaching them, or do you just stay mad with the principal and go back and teach those students because that's the lifeline? You're changing people's lives. Stop wasting time. Wherever you are, if I was you, no matter where you are, if you're already at Family First Life, do better. Expect better. But you got to start that with you. If you're not here yet and you just stumbled across this, guess what? You need to call somebody at Family First Life, and you need to do it today. Other than that, the only thing I have to tell you is my favorite phrase: welcome to the family.
Yeah, that's great, man. How do you go after that? Gaylin, I think a couple things you said are really pointed. I like the analogy with the school teacher and the principal, because one of the things that happens when you go out and run businesses, it can be frustrating. And just because, I remember I was talking to a client one day, and he says, I hope you don't take this personal. And I said, the fact that you fill out a form, I met with you, and you're trying to find every way not to go ahead and protect your family, I don't take it personally. You want to know why? Because I have another 15, 20 families to meet with today. And if I take it personally, then I could end up hurting those families. So there's no way I can let you and what you're saying to me hurt. Meaning, I'm upfront about it. I always kind of joke about Conrad, because Conrad's one of the nicest people you ever meet in your life, which is good. And he has this client call one day, and she's like, I'm really, really upset with Conrad. And I'm like, okay, why don't you fill me in? And she's like, he came to my house, and we had such a good time. And we was talking, and we had things in common. It was really nice. And then all of a sudden, my husband and I said, we're not going to get the life insurance. And he actually asked us if we were not going to protect our family. And then we thought that was very rude of him to ask us that. Listening. And then, then on top of it, he started packing up his bag. He just went to other appointments. I'm like, I'm waiting for it, right? Conrad must have smashed a glass, right? And he must have done something. And it had to be bad. And I said, all right, man, well, what else happened? She goes, well, then at that point in time, he got up and he had his bag and he left. He packed his bag and he just went out and went home. And I thought, all right, so you're frustrated at what? Help me understand what you're frustrated at. And she says, I'm frustrated because I realized we should have gotten insurance. I mean, that's seriously what I said, well, do you want somebody else to come back out? She's like, yeah, but not Conrad. Because now we've already said no to Conrad. That's a little bit uncomfortable. But what happened was they became friends. And Conrad would be the first one to own and go, I probably just got really friendly with him, was talking to them. I like people and didn't realize they were going to take my kindness for weakness, and familiarity breeds contempt. And before you know it, they're not going to. But Conrad had the courage to say, you need this. You have to have this. We know we're making a mistake. And if we're going to make a mistake, I'm out. And you know what? He didn't make any money off of the sale, but he helped make sure they got life insurance. His action helped make sure. See, at the end of the day, and I'll leave you with this, when you're helping people, it's not about you. If you're coaching a team, it ain't about you. If you're a teacher, it ain't about you. If you're a social worker, it ain't about you. It's about the people you're helping. If you're a life insurance agent, people say, why do you love this so much? Because I love it. I'm passionate about it because life insurance makes sense and people got to have it. And honesty don't need to be modified as brutal as right. You're right, Gaylin, about it, but let's just be direct with people. Let's help them. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pass over to Sean Ruggiero. I'll talk about helping people, annuities, IUL. Sean, it's all yours, buddy.
Morning, everyone. I'm Sean Ruggiero. Thank you for watching the Next Level Call. Today, we're going to talk about indexing. What is indexing? How does it work? And why does it benefit our clients? So if we need to understand indexing, the first thing we have to do is understand an index. What I've written here down, roughly accurate, is the S&P 500 index for a period of time. So like any index, as the stock market goes, the index will go up and it will go down. And over time, it trends up based on capitalism, based on the strength of the U.S. economy or whatever economy or commerce the index is tracking. So with the S&P 500, the S&P 500 tracks the top 500 U.S. stocks weighted by their revenue. Okay, so the number one stock is Apple. It has the biggest weight. It makes up the biggest percentage of the S&P 500. So if we have the S&P 500 right here as the black line, denoting, hey, with upside gain comes downside risk. That's how everybody understands the stock market. We want to contrast that with how an FIA, or a fixed index annuity, captures the index through the purchase of options. These options are all purchased for you by the insurance company over the counter automatically when you purchase an FIA. So if the S&P went up for 2 years in a row, you'll see that the FIA goes up also. Not to the same relation. Maybe it has a cap. So maybe it says you can only gain up to X percent, 6%, 5%, 7%. Or maybe it has a participation rate. Participation rate says that if the market goes up 100%, you can have 60%. But you get to participate in the upside gains. And then what happens here when we have this loss? When we have a loss, you'll notice that the FIA never loses money. You've heard that term, zero the hero. Well, it's true, because if you have a loss and you're in an FIA, you won't experience any loss of funds. Now, when the market starts to trend back up, the FIA trends up, down, it loses nothing, so on and so forth. So this here is a very good representation of how indexing inside an FIA, or fixed index annuity, allows you to capture upside gains without having any downside losses. Now, I'm going to give you 5 reasons over this 2-part video series for the Next Level Call, 5 reasons why this benefits your clients. The first reason is what I just pointed out, no losses. So if you have no losses, I'm going to circle here every time you would have had a loss and you ended up not experiencing a loss. So when you have no losses, you eliminate something that is very scary for people who are in retirement. It's called sequence of returns risk, or SOR. So sequence of returns risk is simply, when did you retire? See, if we go with an average, we say from this period to this period, the U.S. stock market gained an average of 7.2%. You can't just take your retirement number and multiply it by a compounding 7.2%, although that's how most illustrations are structured. The sequence of returns risk takes into account when you started the retirement and then what sequence of returns happened after you retired. So let's give you 2 examples. Let's say you retired here. You need to take out 5%, maybe more, every single year in retirement. If we start with a lump sum, let's say maybe $500,000 in our retirement account, and our retirement account goes up as we draw out that 5%, we're probably stasis. We're probably keeping our principal balance relatively the same. But flip it over, what if we just fast forward to here and then took out the 5% every year? If we take out 5% every year off of a peak and into a valley, not only are we losing 5% of the principal amount, but we're also losing to market. We're losing money to market loss. So that sequence of returns, and you see studies on this, you can Google this. This is a fantastic thing to tell your clients. Research sequence of returns risk. It's a very real thing because in this scenario, if this retiree retired here, they'd be fine. If the retiree retired here, they could most likely run out of money as early as 78, 80, 81, 82. And with longevity being a crisis nowadays, and that's a sad thing to say, but how long people are living, that can be a real problem. Because how many people out there can guarantee that they're going to retire and the market is going to stay the same or go up? Most people can't do that. Now, to give you a real life example of how real this can be, this chart of the S&P 500, I actually pulled that from Y charts. And check out the dates here. This date right here is 12/26/17. This date over here is 8/28/18. That represents an 8.2% gain. Not bad. But if we fast forward to here, and we retired then, again, this is not hypothetical. This is an actual scenario. It's compressed into months rather than years. But if we went just 27 days later and retired on January 22nd, 2018, all the way to there, our gains, just because we sold off 27 days later, are 0.09%. So either 8.2% or less than 1%. Now again, this is just showing you the reality of sequence of returns risk. These things get spread out over the course of retirement. But being able to use indexing, you can completely eliminate sequence of returns risk, which is extremely valuable for your clients. So, no losses, no sequence of returns risk. That's benefit number one. Benefit number two, realized gains versus paper gains. So, I use this all the time when talking with agents and when speaking with clients. I say, Mr. Smith, if your account started with $200,000, it was invested in the market, and 5 years later, it climbed to $250,000, how much money did you make? And I'm asking you, how much money did you make over 5 years if your brokerage account went from $200,000 to $250,000? If you said $50,000, you are wrong. Because until you sell that stock, you haven't made a dime. See, we always hear the term zero's the hero. Zero's the hero. When you don't suffer losses, you eliminate sequence of returns risk. That's the reason you should do indexing. I believe that's a very strong reason for why you should be doing indexing in retirement. But I actually believe the strongest reason is because you're dealing with realized gains versus unrealized gains or paper gains. So let me give this example again. If Mr. Smith had his $200,000 in a fixed index annuity, and over 5 years, it went to $250,000, now, how much money has Mr. Smith made? Now the answer is $50,000. See, when we never go backwards, when we're dealing with credits of money into your account when the market goes up, whether it's every year or every 2 years, depending on the indexing strategy that you use, then you're actually realizing those gains. Now, it'll work against you. Now, what I mean by that is financial advisors are taught that when the market is sliding, they don't want their clients to sell. They say it's a paper loss. You haven't lost anything yet. What they fail to explain to them when their portfolio goes up, what they fail to explain to them is you haven't made anything. See, when we get in a situation where we don't have any realized gains or losses, we get in a situation where our retirement is dictated by the market. It's not dictated by us. But with a fixed index annuity, every time you see a gain, it is a locked in gain. It is a realized gain. So it's not having to do with timing the market. It eliminates emotion. It eliminates the stress of, did I buy it at the right price or did I sell at the right price? It eliminates the stress of, is my portfolio in balance or out of balance? I'll give you a statistic. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, we'll show you the graphic right in front of you. But according to JP Morgan and Dalbar, they did a study on the S&P 500 for a 20-year period. They said that the S&P 500 gained an average of 8.2% during this 20-year period. But the average investor gained just 2.1%. Isn't that crazy? Now that's a combination of fees being applied, because when we run averages of the S&P 500, when we run averages of any index's return, we're never accounting for fees. And we'll talk about fees in next Friday's session. But that is amazing to think that the average investor has gained 2.1%, while the market technically gained 8.2%. Why is that? It's because the 8.2% doesn't have to be a realized gain. It's just tracking an average. In order to do that, you would have to buy and sell at the exact right moments. And that in itself is pretty much impossible. Why? First of all, because of timing. Second, emotion and environment. You might be forced to sell because you have to pay for a new car. You might be forced to sell because you have to take out required minimum distributions at age 70 and a half. You might be forced to sell because you have to pay for long-term care. But the other reason is that the S&P 500 doesn't capture realized gains. And when you do sell those gains, you have something called unit depletion. So that's the third thing. You do not have unit depletion with an FIA. Now, what do I mean by unit depletion? It's actually quite simple. If I have 100 shares of XY company, and those shares are valued at $100, I simply have $10,000. I'm using these numbers for easy math. Now let's say I need to take out $1,000, okay, that year in retirement. Taking out $1,000, how do I do that? Well, I have to turn an unrealized gain into a realized gain, meaning I have to sell it. So I sell 10 shares of my 100, and I have 90 shares left. Let's go to the next year. I have 90 shares now of XY company. They're still worth $100 a share, right? We haven't even had a down market. But what is my portfolio value now? Is it 10,000? No, it's 9,000. See, even in a stasis market, because you have to sell, you get something called unit depletion. And unit depletion will reduce your portfolio even if you have gains to technically offset it in many instances. And the more unit depletion you have, the harder it is to maintain and continue to have that income for the rest of your life. So unit depletion, as well as realized gains versus paper gains, and no losses. Those are the first three reasons why indexing benefit your clients, how it works, and why you should be selling FIAs. Last thing I want to finish with here has to do with gathering this information. How do I get this information and learn it? How do I present this information to my clients? We have a few different resources. First, anything that you have questions on, you can email annuity@familyfirstlife.com. Secondly, if you have a Twitter account or if you want to create a Twitter account to follow Safe Money Smart, please do follow Safe Money Smart on Twitter, and we're constantly sending out tweets that will help your clients understand this. Because sometimes when it comes from you, they think they're being sold. But when it comes from a third-party entity, they believe it, as they should in any of these instances, because these are accurate and true statements. Lastly, you can go to safemoneysmart.org and you'll see short 1-minute videos that you can share with your clients on these principles. Next week, we're going to talk about part 2 of indexing, why we sell it, and how it benefits our clients.